Friday, one and all. Hopefully it's a happy Friday. Just trying something a little bit different, partly a reflexive exercise for me personally, but also in case it offers some value for anybody out there, either live or, and look at that, that's the Ring doorbell going. In case it's helpful for you, in terms of some insights, how I'm joining some other dots out there. So what I'm going to look to do is a weekly 5-minute reflection. I'm going to see if I can keep up the practice. And what I wanted to start with today was just to say I've been in some incredible conversations this week. Yesterday there was the Fish Eye Cafe, which Samantha Sapaya and B. Lorraine Smith kindly joined me in, where we were discussing plantationing. So if you've got any interest at all in the plantation economy, so where do all of these edible oils, so palm oil, coconut oil, etc., what's the impact of those particular industries? Are we even aware of what the impacts of those industries are, etc.? Really fascinating conversation. Do check that out. Also had an amazing conversation with another member of the Possible Futures crew, of which Samantha is part. Shahana, this past Monday, we were talking another right here, right now, live exploration in the moment, fully intuitive, and we really went some wonderful places with regards to more living system, organisational design. And what was really fascinating was Shahana sharing that we need to reimagine the narratives, the stories that we share. So there's a bit of a difference between narratives and stories, I feel, with stories, being the things that we share to connect, etc., where narratives being sometimes someone else's story that we take on and that goes unchallenged at times. And I found it so interesting that it keeps coming back to this organisation as a machine metaphor. And that's really why we've got so many of the challenges that we have, because do we even step back and breathe and say, hey, oh my God, yeah, I am acting like a tiny piece, a cog in a machine. But as a human, I'm so much more than that. I'm so much more than the job spec. I'm so much more than this narrow, siphoned version of myself. And how do I break out of that positively? How do I show up more fully with my ideas, with my creativity, etc.? So that's an invitation for you today. I'm really curious, have you stepped into that curiosity for yourself in the past 7 days? And what could you do differently to potentially do that? And hi, Elise, lovely to see you. Good morning. Says that piece around the plantationing Fish Eye Cafe that happened yesterday. There's the right here, right now conversation that I had with Shahana last Monday. And also what's been really beautiful is yesterday, one of my personal inspirations, Nilofer Merchant, she wrote the book Onlyness, an incredible book, which I fully recommend to anybody. Go out there, have a look at it. Onlyness, that spot in the world that only you stand. Now, what's really interesting, I've been having so many different meanderings myself, in recent weeks and months. And what she speaks about and what came up so powerfully for me yesterday, and indeed today, is we cannot belong to other people. We cannot belong to community. We cannot belong to the team. We can't belong to other relationships if we don't first belong to ourselves. And what that means is, do we know who we are, what our values are, what we believe in, difference we're trying to make in the world? And although I'm fairly clear, I think, what I'm trying to do, I don't communicate it very clearly. And it's because I've had a little bit of my self-worth given away to other parts of my life. So rather than me coming from that place of 10 out of 10 self-worth that we all are, we are always 10 out of 10 self-worth, right? No one can take that away from us. But if we think about it like a funnel, let me try and share with you very quickly. It's going to be a bit more than 5 minutes on this first intuitive reflection. Hey, Vicky, lovely to see you. Hope you're well. I don't know if you can see. I don't know if you can see it because my settings. Let me try and change my background. Let me get rid of that a second. Here we are, doing it all very live. So, what I drew here today or yesterday. This is like a cone, in essence. And what it is our humanity, right? So we start, as we come into the world, this really abundant, right, energy source. Like, we're given a name, right, from day dot. We suddenly got all of this capacity. If you've got kids, I know Vicky's got kids, they're rolling around, they're curious, they're taking everything in. There's no judgment, right? And then from the age of about 4, we gradually have this humanity siphoned out of us due to the systems we're part of, through education, through to the workplace, before we're suddenly aged 18, 20 in the workplace going, oh, I don't know who I am really, I've got to do what I'm told, I'm trying to make money for my retirement. Like, we just totally narrow our humanity over a period of our lifetime, really. And it's just so stark to me that what could it be like in the workplace? What could it be like in our own lives if we try to just bust open that aperture again and go, hey, I can be curious. I don't just have to say yes all the time. I don't have to be nodding dog conforming. I can bring so much more of who I am and what I believe in to every part of my life. I don't have to be that narrow boxed off version of who I am. And that's come up really powerfully for me today around and this week in a number of conversations. And my final part of this reflection today is something I've also been working on is, I don't know if you can see this, it's what I'm calling elephants in the room, right? Also known as complex pairs. So let me tell you about my thinking around that this past week. So we're in a situation, we all know we're dealing with, very real risk of existential threat to human race as a species, right? We've got the science now, the IPCC reports. We know the climate science denial from big oil since the 1970s. I work part of the chemicals industry, as my good friend Vicky does. We're all trying to make a crust. We've all got lives that we have to lead. We've got families to put food on the table for, right? Absolutely. Totally understand that. I'm also that person. However, we seem to be shying away from, or the systems are keeping us so afraid and in fear that if I speak up or I challenge or I give a different point of view, will I risk losing my job? Will I risk this, being silenced? Will I be risked being ostracized? And I get it, because I felt all of those things myself in past years. But just think about these complex pairs on elephant in the room, right? Do we ever allow that elephant, which is sustainability and capital growth, as two areas, right? We never bring those two things into the same space. We're always talking about double-digit growth or taking over a company, or we're talking about sustainability. We're never really bringing those two things into the same space to go, hey, how can we be genuine and authentic and non-greenwashing about sustainability and trying to turn around the existential threats to our species, and be talking about double-digit growth and taking over other companies? Does that go together? Open question. I wonder what you think. Another one is a massive push on the New Green Deal and carbon taxes. If we put $500 per tonne on the use of a range of different chemical raw materials, that will reduce their usage or it make it more expensive, blah, 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 blah. But what we're not talking about is the black rebate, i.e. the huge billions per year of rebates and tax incentives given to big oil. So again, we're not bringing those two things into the same space. We're then looking at sustainable aviation, which McKinsey loves to talk about, the big consultancy. How do we move sustainable aviation over from fossil fuel based over to whether it be veg oil, waste oils, etc. And then we've got food supply. So we're trying to put food on the table for all of us and for humans. How can we expand and keep aviation as is and keep growing and still put food on the table? Those two things need to be discussed in the same space. That's an elephant in the room that is not being looked at. Anyway, I've got a whole page of elephants in the room and complex pairs to be explored. So if you would love Elise and Vicky and anybody else to be part of those conversations, please drop me a DM. Let's have a conversation. It's not about being right. It's not about judgment, but it is about curiosity. What is it about us at the moment as a human race, those in the workplace, particularly us in the West, let me emphasize that point, that we're not having these grown-up adult conversations about how can we truly turn around our social justice and environmental justice challenges whilst continuing on a double-digit growth at all cost, accumulative mindset at the same time. Is that possible? I don't think it is. And I'm wondering if you think it is or not. Anyway, I've got a bit over my 5 minutes. Hope you're well, Vicky. Have a great weekend. Lovely to see you, Elise. Have a great weekend. If anything's resonated with you, if you want to challenge anything, let me know. Again, I'm not seeking to be right, just sharing my reflections, 7 days in Gary Turner's world. This is what it's like. Sorry, people. Till next time, take well. And again, if somebody is looking, if you work in the chemicals industry, up or downstream, pharma, big oil, energy, and you're looking for a thinking partner, a coach or a facilitator to help you have this type of conversation, let's get in contact.